Hello and welcome to today's Tiger webinar. I'm Lydia Palmer, Senior Director of Marketing and Communications in RIT's Division of Development and Alumni Relations, and I'm your moderator for today's webinar. We're happy to have you join us today, and we hope that you and our entire Tiger family are well and weathering this global challenge. We want you to know that the RIT Office of Alumni Relations is available to help all Tigers in the coming weeks with a variety of needs, including new virtual content, learning opportunities, and networking and career assistance in the coming months as our workplaces and our world work through the post-pandemic realities. We especially encourage everyone to connect to the RIT Alumni Association social media channels, including Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, where you will find up-to-date communications and opportunities to connect to other Tiger alumni in your region and your industry. Those links are found in the chat box, and the chat box can be opened by clicking on the chat tab at the right of your webinar window. The class of 2020 is finishing their time at RIT, but they are just beginning their journey into the lives of purpose for which their education and experiences have prepared them. As a Tiger for Life, we need your help to welcome our graduates to the alumni body, encouraging them as both professionals and people in their next chapters. If you have words of wisdom, advice, or encouragement for this new band of Tigers, please share your thoughts with them at rit.edu/alumni/tiger-wisdom. We also want to ask you to join us on May 8th as we celebrate our class of 2020 virtually. We will be streaming a virtual celebration on May 8th at 5 p.m. at www.rit.edu/class-of-2020. As you're aware, our soon-to-be fellow alumni won't be able to celebrate the way many of us did with a week of formal commencement ceremonies. So let's make sure this virtual event is special until they can come back together for something more official. Many in our RIT family have asked how they can help our students and the university during this unprecedented situation, and we are incredibly grateful for those offers. Because a pandemic like COVID-19 touches us all, a global day of giving, #GivingTuesdayNow, has been set for Tuesday, May 5th in response to the unprecedented need caused by the virus. As generosity has the power to unite and heal communities, RIT will be participating in this fundraising event to bring our community together in support of our students. You can get a head start by making a gift at the link in the chat box, and we thank you very much. We want to ensure that everyone is ready and familiar with the presentation tools. If you are joining from a remote location and are currently signed into your company's VPN, we encourage you to close that channel during the webinar to increase the quality of the transmission. The webinar platform is secure and does not require VPN access. All attendees have joined in mute mode. However, your questions can be entered in the chat box at any time throughout the discussion. We'll make every effort to address all comments and questions throughout the webinar. You are joining the event using broadcast audio. If you wish to dial in by phone, dial-in information is provided in the chat box. Live captioning is also being provided, and you can find the link to access that in the chat box as well. Today's webinar will be recorded and made available, complete with captions, in approximately 1 week following today's event. All participants will receive an email with the link to the recording. If you have any technical questions, you may enter those in the chat box as well, and we will do our best to get you the appropriate answers. And now, on to our webinar. We are so happy to welcome RIT alumna Michelle Prince, leadership coach and consultant at M. Prince Consulting, LLC. Michelle will be providing practical tips to boost your career satisfaction. Prior to launching her coaching and consulting practice, Michelle enjoyed a 30-plus year career in global corporate life. Her transition to her own company was designed to enhance her work-life harmony, as well as provide her with time to follow her passions. She is particularly passionate about helping women thrive in their career. In addition to her MS in Career and Human Resources Development from RIT, Michelle holds a BS in Management from Binghamton University and a Doctorate of Management in Organizational Leadership from University of Phoenix. Michelle, we are so glad to have you with us today, and our audience is all yours.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Lydia. I'm excited to be here today. So welcome everybody who is here, and if you're watching the replay, you won't be able to do the polls and the active chat, but hopefully you can benefit from them. Please try to minimize your distractions. I know that's hard, especially on a video, but we'll be looking to be interactive with you. The idea for this is to make sure that I'm providing enough tips and resources that are useful, and I'm able to answer questions as we go through. So you'll see a couple polls that we're going to have. I'll prompt you when those polls are relevant. You'll see the little chat function icon for when it's appropriate to answer a question via chat, but feel free to put your comments in the chat at any time. Lydia is going to work with me to make sure that we are paying attention to your questions. You'll see a little Thrive button on a number of my slides because I am personally a very action-oriented individual, and I would encourage you to get the most out of this webinar, to also take note of those indicators for your own actions. So here we go. Lydia already told you a little bit about my background and myself. I have recently made the change to become a full-time coach, and using the experience that I've had over the many years internationally and in multiple industries. And I am really, really enjoying it. I am following my passion, as Lydia said, and you'll see why that's important as we go through talking about how we boost your career satisfaction. I have lived in New York. I was in Rochester about from the 1970s to the 90s, and class of 92. Go Tigers. So that's a little bit more about me. My objectives for today, I intend to share with you some practical tips to get thinking about how you can boost your career satisfaction. Hopefully that's why you signed up for this webinar. I'm going to, as I said, provide you with some actions that you can start doing right away. And also there's a number of resources that will enable and empower you to take those next steps. I'm assuming that your objectives for today are to gain those insights to boost your career satisfaction. We're going to explore some possible reasons why you might be in need of a boost, and your action orientation. So you're going to get started on a plan of action that's going to help you. Is there anything else that you intend or would like to get out of today's session? I invite you to put that into the chat.
Yes, if anyone has any specific career development, career satisfaction questions, you can go ahead and place those in the chat box, and Michelle will include those in her discussion today.
So I don't see anything immediately coming up in the chat, which is fine, but we'll leave that open as we go. So here's our first poll. I would love to know who is currently on the webinar. And if you could please go to the poll button that you'll see on the right side of your toolbar and answer the poll. Answer if you are less than 8 years in your career, 8 to 15 years in your career, over 15 years in your career, or none of the above.
Yes, to open the polls, just click on the poll tab in that white bar to the right of your Livestorm window. Thanks.
Yeah. So we'll wait for a minute while people vote. It really is interesting because careers go through stages. Some experts call them seasons of your career. So it's just great for me to understand and know who you are so that I can possibly talk specifically about some of the challenges that you might be having around career satisfaction.
And Michelle, we did have someone say that they're interested in recommendations for how to approach a career change as a
Okay.
strategy for achieving increased satisfaction. So I think that's important.
Perfect.
And determining if it is the right time to make a change in what you're doing. So those are two pretty interesting topics to look at.
Perfect. Absolutely. Yes, we will address those for sure.
And we're just making sure, I believe the information that you're sharing really is appropriate for any career field. It's not specific to engineering or computing or any particular area.
That is absolutely correct. Actually, the great news is no matter what career you're in, what field you're in, or even what season you're in your career, the tips and resources that we explored together today are actually helpful in boosting career satisfaction no matter what. So someone is saying that the poll button isn't opening for them.
Yes, I see that. We're trying to check. If you just, I'm sorry, if you've clicked on the word polls, is that still not opening for you? And the one thing I might suggest, just in case you're having that challenge, sometimes if we just reload or refresh your internet browser, that helps a lot too.
Okay.
But yeah, let's keep going, and we'll see if we can make sure that those poll channels are working. Thanks.
Okay. So Lydia or Anna, do we have any results from the poll?
Yeah, so what we're looking at right now is the majority of people are certainly over the 8-year mark. Sort of a bubble in that 8 to 15-year range, with a number who are still over the 15-year mark. So it sounds like we have a seasoned group of people. We do have a few people who are less than 8 years in their career. So about 10% of the people answering said that they're in the first 8 years of their career.
Okay, perfect. Great. So thank you very much for participating in the poll, for those of you who were able to. So this gives me a very nice idea of kind of where you are in your career and how to talk about how to boost your career. The first question I always ask and would love to know your opinion on, though, is career satisfaction even possible? So a rhetorical question probably, because the answer is yes. Yes, it's possible. And some data I'd love to share with you that provides evidence that it is, because even though you might hear a lot of people focusing on who's disengaged or who's unsatisfied, I like to look at things as glass half full. I'm just an optimist by nature. So I really enjoy looking at the Conference Board Job Satisfaction Survey, which was done just last year. Now, granted, we're in unprecedented times. We are now in very different circumstances when some of these surveys were done, but really interesting to look at the data of satisfied employees. 54% of US workers back in 2009, this was done, I think, in August of 2009, felt satisfied with their employment. The types of questions that the Conference Board asks is very specifically around commute times, the people you work with, your direct manager, the company, the policies, the benefits, the advancement opportunities. So there is definitely a good number of people, more than the majority, that are feeling satisfied. So you can too. Engagement. This is interesting because for years we've heard over 70% of US workers are not engaged or either disengaged. And now we're starting to see an uptick. Actually, in 2009, this is a report from Gallup 2018, we're starting to see some evidence that workers were becoming more engaged. So that's very positive towards career satisfaction and engagement at the place that you work. And that's particularly around the Gallup 12 questions. So if you're not familiar with that, there's 12 questions that they poll every single year, all about, once again, the work environment. Do you have opportunities for advancement? Has your manager asked you what your career aspirations are? Do you enjoy the people you work with? Do you enjoy the work? And so on. There's also a happiness report, in case you didn't know. There's the World Happiness Report's been around for many years. The latest one that was just done in March, and the US ranks 18 out of 156 countries, and that's has a lot to do with social, urban, natural environment of the country in which you live. So suffice it to say, we're in the top 20. So the other good news is that right now, somebody asked about timing. Well, the interesting thing about right now is that generally speaking, even managers who were not great at being empathetic are certainly getting more empathetic because of the circumstances that we're in. People are definitely minimizing their commute time, not to joke about it, but the opportunity to figure out how to work from home if you want it is now available, where a lot of companies weren't even offering that before. And if that's something important to you for work-life balance, or a greater appreciation for the work-life challenges that your company is now having, so that's actually a positive outcome of the current circumstances. And of course, the satisfaction often depends on a lot of things. So male and female have different satisfaction motivators. It also depends on the type of work you do, the type of company you're at. It matters a lot on your manager and how what the quality of their management style is, and how well it aligns with what your needs and your expectations are. Please feel free to chat any thoughts that you have on any of this.
Yes, I've heard, this is Lydia. I've heard, Michelle, that managers is probably the single largest impacting factor. I think the trope is that people don't leave jobs, they leave managers.
That's exactly right. People join companies because they think they're joining a company that aligns with the values of their career aspirations and their own personal values, and mission-driven companies are able to attract people with a similar purpose in life. But a lousy manager can actually ruin all of that. Just recently posted something on LinkedIn actually to that effect. So I do a lot of work with leaders and managers to try to improve their personal effectiveness and increase engagement. So I don't see any chats. That's fine. We'll just continue on then. So I would really like to know a little bit more about you. And we've set up another poll. You'll see the second poll in the poll column allows you to answer the question, what would help boost your career satisfaction? So take a moment to think this through. I have 3 choices. First of all, would you like more challenge? If you are really enjoying what you're doing, but kind of getting bored, maybe you've been doing it for a little while, you like your company, and you're ready for an advancement opportunity, but you're not getting it in your current company, and you're not sure why, then you might want to answer that. If you like what you're doing and you have liked what you're doing, but now you're starting to feel, now you're in that maybe second season of your career, and you're feeling like maybe it's not a long-term career fit for me, or lately the work I'm doing makes me feel drained. I would love to go back to feeling energized and fulfilled the way I used to based on the work that I'm doing. And it's not uncommon when you hit that kind of 10 to 15 year mark where people feel like, okay, so now I've been working in this career for a little while. I'm thinking it's no longer a career fit for me. It could be that you had a certain major in school and you followed that major into a career, but now it's not necessarily giving you the fulfillment that you would love. The last option is, I really don't like what I'm doing or where I'm doing it. I'm actively looking to make a change. I'm currently unemployed. That might be a circumstance that might be not that unusual these days, but actually in an active job search. So if you don't fit into one of those perfectly, that's fine. Just for the purpose of our discussion today, if you could just pick one in the poll, that would be terrific.
And those are coming in, and I'll let you know a little preview before we get all finished up with people submitting. I guess the good news is that most people are falling into either A or B. They're looking for either more challenge or maybe a little bit better fit. We have about 20% who say, yeah, I really need to move on to something else.
Okay. All right. So we'll get started then on the tips. And think now that you've done your own, let's say, soul searching or answered your own questions, we actually, as I'm coaching people, often the process I will take you through is very similar to what I do, which is we start out by asking ourselves questions. And they may be tough questions, but they're intended to help us dig a little deeper into why we feel we might need a boost and a higher level of career satisfaction. So here we go. So are you clear on whose plan you're following? The plan you're following for your career might have been something that you established years ago, especially if you're 8 to 10 years into your career. So the question is the career serving you? And I bring this up as usually the first question because a lot of times this could uncover the fact that maybe those that influenced you to go into a certain career may not have been the career path you originally thought was a good fit. So that's the first question to ask yourself as we dig a little deeper. One of my favorite sayings is anyone who says sunshine brings happiness has never danced in the rain. One of my most favorite things is actually to run in the rain. I don't run when the sun is out. It's too hot. I would much rather run in the rain. So where your satisfaction comes is dependent on you and who is the career serving. Is it serving you? And the next question that we talk about as we dig a little deeper is, are you lit up when you're doing your career? Are you feeling inspired versus tired? Are you getting energized around, quote, them? Whoever those are that you're working with. Are they people? Are they children? Are they animals? Are they machines? What is your career, and is it aligned with your purpose? And a big hint here is actually your purpose and your career satisfaction comes from serving others. So thinking about what your purpose is, digging a little deeper to get clarity on your purpose will bring you to the questions and the answers of whether or not you can boost your career satisfaction.
And Michelle, a question.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. One question is you're talking about purpose. It'd be interesting to get your views on this. If people have heard Simon Sinek speak, it's an interesting thing that we heard from him earlier this week where he said your purpose should be the same for both career and personal. So you shouldn't be trying to compartmentalize. And I wonder if you have thoughts on that.
I do, actually, and hold that thought for just a moment because that's absolutely the case. And I'm a huge fan of Simon Sinek, and I know him. I've talked to him. I've spent time with him. I'm a huge fan of his Start With Why, and this is absolutely aligned. So when you think about why you do what you do and your purpose, if they're not in alignment, it's likely that you will not have as high of career satisfaction. So I totally agree with what you just said, Lydia. I also want to mention too, and again, the purpose leverages your superpowers and your strengths. So I encourage my coaching clients to think about what those superpowers are. What are the unique gifts you give to the world? What are the differentiators that make you a gift to the world, right? So these words may or may not resonate with you, but this is how I go through the coaching process. You may not realize what these are. You may take them for granted. I find that often as I go through my coaching process with people and I talk about things that they get excited about, and I can just hear it in their voice. They think, well, that's not unique, but actually it is. And these are the kinds of things that are really foundational to your purpose. So your life's experiences, what was going on when you were at a peak in your life, not just in your work life, but in your home life, in your growing up life? What were the ups and downs? What were your peaks and valleys? What's your life story? If you're not sure what your purpose is or what your why is, as Simon says, then it's great to find out what that is, because that's foundational to your career satisfaction, and it's very personal and unique for you. So I'm going to, throughout the webinar here, give you some resources. And the first one I will point out is called thriveher.com. It's a free website. You can sign up. Tricia Dempsey, she's an executive coach. She's phenomenal. She also has classes that she does, digital coaching and digital classes, if that's what you're looking for, just to help you find your purpose. Or if you're like me, there's about 1 billion results on Google on how to find your purpose. So definitely give some thought as you're thinking about what are your gifts, what are your superpowers, what are your strengths, and let's talk a little bit more about how to identify those. So like what Lydia just brought up, getting more clarity around what those are so important to boosting your career satisfaction. So you'll hear me say your career satisfaction, because the reality of it is lousy managers can demotivate you, but the only person who can actually motivate you is yourself. So it's so important to identify specifics that motivate you. And by working in a role or a career that aligns with your purpose is the foundation for that. So how do you understand your natural strengths and what we call the superpowers? How do you understand your preferences, personality type, your passions and interests? You might have a glimpse into these things, but as a coach, I often use assessments to help raise awareness of what your personal strengths are, your personality type, your preferences. There are so many out there. I've listed a few in the resources here that are very helpful, that I use often. And I am going to put in a huge plug for the RIT career resources, because a lot of the assessments they offer to you as alumni at no cost are available through the career services website. So you've got to dig a little deeper. There's your Thrive button. There's your action to think about taking so that you can actually find out more and get clarity about what your sweet spot is. What career should you be pursuing? And if you're in that career and it does align with your sweet spot, your passion, your preferences, and your natural powers, then let's talk about that a little deeper. So remember the answer that you answered earlier in the poll, and let's talk about how the purpose and clarity helps to boost your career satisfaction. So if you're looking for more challenge, think about how your purpose and having clarity helps you articulate why you're ready for your next move. It naturally will give you passion and energy to pursue your next opportunities. And when you're able to articulate why you love what you do, or why you're ready for your next move, and what more you want to do so that you can serve more the people that you're serving, people will notice this new or renewed enthusiasm. If you need a boost, you might not realize how low your energy is. People will want to support you and endorse you when you have a renewed enthusiasm and energy. If you are going to apply for new jobs, whether that's in your company or outside your company, having the story about why you love your career provides focus for that job search, if that's what you need. Next, if you're looking for a better fit, then the question becomes, how can I align what I'm doing with my strengths and preferences and interests? It reminds you why you liked it before, because you said that you liked it, but maybe you've just lost a little of your mojo. And this gives you that new energy for your work. And just having a much more positive outlook on why you're doing what you're doing and what might be bringing you down is actually going to give you some actions to take. Because it could be the work environment, it could be the hours, it could be the compensation, it could be that unfortunately your manager's style doesn't align with yours. But at least you'll have much more clarity. And lastly, if you are on the active job search, it really helps to inspire a direction for your career change. Aligning your search with your purpose will help make sure that your next role is more satisfying. It's useful knowledge to plan your next steps. And as Lydia brought up too, the ability to clearly talk about your why, as Simon Sinek says, right? And your strengths and your passions will really bring a level of enthusiasm as opposed to the dread of interviewing for another job. Anything in the chat, Lydia, as I've been talking about those things?
Not as I'm seeing. I think people are really listening. But the one thing I did thought would be kind of interesting is for people, if they do think they have a particular superpower, it might be kind of nice to see what some of those are.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so go ahead and if you think you have a real kind of superpower, that would be super to have put in there. And I'll share mine because Michelle and I were talking. I've actually had some of these experiences in trying to define some of that, and I think one of mine was always to synthesize multiple channels of information and content and complexity into a more singular plan, process, and communication. But yeah, I would love to see what some of the other folks on the call actually see as their superpowers.
Yes, and that's so interesting, Lydia, too, while we're waiting for people to chat a little bit. There are a number of experts that talk about your superpowers being either derived from a communication capability, a process orientation capability, some kind of a systems capability. Those are the kinds of things that when you look for a job that requires those kinds of synthesizing or communicating or empathizing or even troubleshooting, those are when you get energy from doing those things, and you can find the type of role that actually allows you to do those things every day, that's where you get your energy, your natural boost to your career satisfaction.
Mm-hmm. And we did have Lauren share that one of her superpowers is summarizing information into digestible formats.
Nice.
That's a good one.
Nice. Yeah. Yep. The other thing, some of the assessments we talked about too, the DISC in particular is very interesting to figure out what your natural work preferences are. I did notice that somebody posed a question that in the first 5 or 10 minutes, I hadn't given a tip yet. That means that that person is a high D on the DISC because they just want the bullet points, they just want the facts, they just want to know what's the relevant topic. Unfortunately for you, I'm a high I, so I'm all about having impact and influence. So I'm going to tell a story around the relevant topics, which may or may not coincide with the way you like to work or receive information. And that also is very telling about how you can create a work environment and appreciate the differences in how people work, if that's one of the things that's dissatisfying you about the work environment. And that's what I mean by the manager's style may not be aligned with your style, and you may not be getting the feedback or the type of discussions with your manager that you're looking for. But if your manager is a high D on the disc and you're in a high I or an S or a C, there's a mismatch there, but there's an opportunity to dig a little deeper and really look at the value of each working preference and figure out how to work together. That's my superpower, by the way, Lydia, is taking the behaviors of an organization, a team, or an individual and looking for ways to improve them.
Yep. And we did have a few other shares here. Gabriella says that she is very good at relating with clients on a personal level to understand their needs and provide tailored services. So that's interesting because it's a solutions based, but it's based in the individual relationship.
Absolutely. And what's interesting about that comment, Gabriella, is if you're currently in a work environment, such as like a customer care role, sometimes the processes of customer care are all about how many calls you can take in an hour. And there's these measures. And so you may not actually be able to connect with people on that personal level because the objective is to answer their issue and then get to your next call as soon as possible. That's what I mean about the work environment. So making sure that if you want to be in an environment, as an example with Gabriella, to have more time with your clients, you've got to make sure the work environment enables and encourages that kind of interrelationship.
So we have some people who love traveling. What kind of positions suit traveling to other countries and staying in other countries for short term, like for a 1 to 2 year stint?
So many. I love that. And that was Debelina. So thank you for sharing that. I personally love to travel. You may have seen on my bio, I went through it pretty quickly, but love to travel. I've been to 23 countries for work and pleasure. I've been in global roles for the last 15 years. So I've done a tremendous amount of travel outside the US. And before that, I was head of HR for North America. So did a lot of travel in Canada and across the US. So it's about finding a role that allows that. Now might not be the best time to be traveling, but pretty soon, hopefully you can get back into that and looking for the types of jobs that allow that. If you're looking for a short-term assignment, like 1 to 2 years in each country, then you're really looking for more a very different kind of career. I've done 2 international assignments in my career. So if you'd like to talk more about that, just email me directly and we can have a conversation about that. I think international assignments, traveling outside the country, traveling even in the country, gives you such a high level of understanding about diversity and empathy. Highly recommend it if that's something that anyone's interested in.
And I want to highlight a comment that came in from Christine, which I think is pretty interesting because I think you may get into some of these tips a little bit more, or these thoughts a little more, where she says her superpower is to help with problem solving. And she says that works really well. It's a big part of her current job. But then she's thinking, I feel like I want to do something different. Should I be changing careers? And I think that might be a B in your section there.
Yeah, absolutely. So the answer is, if you are already asking me the question, should I think about changing? Then you probably already know that answer. And when I go through the coaching process with people, usually in the back of their mind, they already know the answer and they're looking for someone to validate that. So again, I can't answer everyone's questions particularly, but as we move on, maybe you'll get some insights from it. And if you do want to contact me directly, you'll have my email, and I'm more than happy to go through a much deeper line of conversation. That would be great. I did want to point out, Lydia, that Heather points out that she likes her manager and her team, but the manager tries to do everything herself, doesn't give the staff much to do. There's another person that she does kind of favor because they've been working together for 12 years, been there for 2 years and bored. That's a shame, because that is an indicator that the manager is not a delegator, and also whether or not the manager trusts people to get the job done. And so that's an opportunity to really have a conversation with the manager to talk about, one, what you feel like you could be doing, and number two, why you feel like she can trust you, what you're looking to do and more of, and maybe that other person that she gives work to might even be someone who can train you on what she's doing to help better allocate the work. I wouldn't be able to comment on anything specific since I don't know so much of the circumstances, but just communication, calm communication, and an understanding in a very non-threatening way to have that conversation with your manager is critical. And I work with a lot of clients who are trying to have those conversations with the managers, and they just need a little bit of help. So let's talk about you for a second. Keep fine-tuning the story about your purpose. I highly recommend, and also when I'm working with my clients, to talk to others about your purpose. Leveraging your network, your family, your friends, trusted colleagues, past coworkers who actually know you in a work environment, even previous managers. It's really interesting now getting in touch with people who you've worked with before. If you tell them you're doing some work on yourself and looking for some validation on what your strengths are and where you can continue to develop. It's really important also to get to know your best self. And so this is where I talked about maybe sometimes your super strengths are something you aren't aware of. There's a great video by Dan Cable. He's a professor at London Business School about best self activation. I highly recommend that you look at it. It's a bit unorthodox, but he talks about the living eulogy. And the living eulogy is basically when people tell you when you've had a positive impact on them. And that will help you validate your assumptions about your purpose. It's a little strange, but I guarantee you will find out things, and it will give you the energy and enthusiasm that you're looking for, which can then boost your career satisfaction when you look for ways to demonstrate those super strengths more in your work. And the other thing is that the video actually gives you some indication on how to make a great impact. If you are a big Simon Sinek fan, like Lydia pointed out before, there is a video on how to make an impact. So how to take your why, your purpose, and your super strengths and have a bigger impact on the people around you. If you're not comfortable still doing this, another way to boost your career satisfaction is actually to find a mentor. Someone who's been in your career, could be at your workplace, could be someone who's in a similar career that you know either through your place of worship or a professional organization. LinkedIn is a fantastic place to look at first, second, and third connections of people who are in your field. And have them just connect with them, mention that you are growing in your career, looking to boost your career satisfaction, and would they mind talking to you about their own experiences? If you're not comfortable with that, I'm giving you other alternatives. There's a company I'm involved with called Intercell. They're kind of the Uber for mentors. So if you just need 1 or 2 mentoring sessions, then you can Uber up a mentor. It's virtual, and you can hire a mentor for a couple sessions or as many sessions as you want. It's an investment, but a small one. And if that's something you're more comfortable with than talking to people that you already know. And the last resource there is a Star in Me. This is a platform I'm also involved in. It's specifically for women. So Thrive Her is specifically for women, and the Star in Me is specifically for women. No cost to join.
And so, Michelle, we do have a good comment from Dave. I think it ties into what you're talking about in terms of leveraging networks, where he says, I do like my manager, but is not particularly satisfied with my job because it's 100% business development, and his strengths are more in project and people management. So he's looking at opportunities to use those skills in other areas of his professional network.
Nice. Absolutely, Dave. Thank you for sharing that, because you can get compensated for doing a job, and actually it's okay if it doesn't fulfill you fully. If you're able to pursue your purpose that would give you more internal satisfaction outside of your work. So that's one thing. But Dave, also, as you're thinking about what you want to be doing, this is something I see all the time. I would encourage you to please talk to your manager about what you're good at work, but what would make you feel even more enthusiastic would be if you were able to do more project and people management. And does your manager see any opportunities for you to do that, either within the realm of your current role, or as we're thinking about how work's going to change going forward, are there some projects or people management opportunities so you stay with the manager that you like? Because I can tell you, it's wonderful that you have a manager that you like. So see how, by bringing up this conversation with your manager, not looking to leave, not making an ultimatum, but how can your manager work with you to get even greater opportunity to have an impact that aligns with your purpose? So that kind of leads nicely into a branding conversation. What is personal branding? You might have already been to a webinar that talks about personal brand. Well, I look at it as how people perceive you in multiple scenarios, and also how people feel when they're around you. And your best self-activation stories actually help understand more about this. You have to be a little bit brave. You have to be willing to hear how people are. But I guarantee you, you will see a boost in your satisfaction already if you start aligning your energy and enthusiasm for your purpose with the job. Start thinking about how your current job, your current career actually aligns with your purpose and your super strengths, and start acting like it does. Again, so many people I talk to, they don't realize how low their energy has become. And once you start talking differently and that renewed enthusiasm and energy, if you're pursuing your current career, you can look and act the part. And there's experts and studies that show just by shifting our perspective, we can achieve a greater sense of purpose, which is what boosts your career satisfaction, even without changing the job, even without changing what we're doing. So I highly recommend, before you decide that you're leaving or making a change or even pursuing another opportunity, you've got to do this foundational work, because it may just be a slight shift in perspective that gives you that boost that you're looking for. But if you're going to go, and there are people who are either going to go or actively looking for a new opportunity, find a company that aligns with your purpose. Like Lydia mentioned before, and Simon talks about, finding a company that has the same values as you, your non-negotiables. It's not just your next job, but think about it both as a short term, but also long term. A lot of times companies want to hire people, not just for the job that they're interviewing for, but also for a longer ramp, a longer pathway of a career. So especially if you're in that 8 to 10 year, you've got a lot of opportunity to spend time with a great company, and they are out there. So give that some thought. There's a couple other resources on the page. You'll have these slides, and the links to these resources are actually all in this presentation. So I see we only have a few more minutes. I'm going to go through the rest of these slides a little quicker. One thing I often talk to my clients about is knowing your worth. So this also helps when you talk to people about your best self, but you have to also dig a little deeper. We cannot expect others to see value in us if we don't recognize it in ourselves. And this is something that unfortunately impacts women, in my experience, much more than men. So going through the process of believing in yourself, understanding your skills, and doing that deeper dive, doing those assessments and bringing some greater awareness to what you bring is really going to help you boost your own personal satisfaction, and that will translate to your career. And if you do not know what you ought to be getting paid, I talk to so many people to say, I don't think I'm compensated well. If you truly have no idea, you can talk to a recruiter about what the job market is for the types of jobs you're aspiring to be in. You can go to salary.com. You can put in where you live, the type of experience you have, the type of job. They have job descriptions to choose from. And you can also talk about your education and all of that. Put it into salary.com, and it will spit out a range of salary. And then you'll at least know where you fall in the range. And then you'll have something to talk about with the people who employ you. But if you don't know, then you're really not equipped to have that reasonable conversation. If you're truly brave, then knowing your value and self-worth exercise is interesting for people. I do this with my clients. And action orientation, to go through the exercise, remind yourself of what your value bring, the value you bring and what your values are. Remind yourself every day that you are valuable. So if you're brave, also, maybe you want to add in the chat what's holding you back. These are the things that I've heard time and time again, numerous reasons why people feel afraid or what's holding them back. So if you have something else on that you want to add to the list, or if these are resonating with you, I would say then practicing the opposite is something I do. It's an exercise I do with my coaching clients. We practice saying, I will be successful. I will make money doing this. It is the right time. I am not too old or too young. I am good enough. And sometimes we do find that the position they aspire to move into next, maybe they don't have the credentials, but there's lots of ways to get those credentials these days. It doesn't mean you have to go back all the time for a full-time degree, although that might be something if you're in a professional field that requires some kind of a certification. But there's so many different ways to learn, both online, on demand, on your own time. And I help clients work through that a lot.
So yes, if you do have some thoughts on what you think might be holding you back or what's keeping you from saying, I'm just going to go ahead and make a change, if that's what you're interested in, please enter those in the chat box. And I think Michelle will ask a specific question, because you do work so often with specifically women in mid-career. I think the one that you mentioned about being too old is an interesting idea. I know I can say personally that when I got to be in my mid early to mid 40s, I was already starting to get the vibe that said, no, you're really entrenched where you are and you need to stay there. So I wonder if you find that women have a challenge with that more than anyone else.
I definitely have seen that in women that I work with. Most of the women that I work with are between 35 and 55. And so depending on where they are in the season of their career, but absolutely for the tail end of people, by the way, I'm 55. I just made a big career change and a risky one as well. But the objective is actually to negate the negative self-talk. And I go through a lot of exercises with my people. Thrive Her, actually thriveher.com that I mentioned before, and also the Star and Me platform. The majority of people who are subscribing to those channels that I work with closely, that subscribe in those channels, are in their late 40s and early 50s. So you are not alone either if you're thinking that it's not a good time or I'm too old to make a change. I will tell you it's not. And there are definitely things that we do that hold us back. And that's why sometimes talking to a coach is a very good way to overcome those things. And by the way, I'll put in another plug for the RIT Career Services for alumni. They have coaches on staff. So that is a service available to you if you just want to talk to a coach. If you want to talk to me, I'm perfectly happy with that, but you do have resources available to you at no charge. So please do. If you're introverted, I see a couple comments about being introverted. That is absolutely not something that should hold you back. It's only going to hold you back if you allow it to. So I know we're getting towards the end here, Lydia. I'm just going to wrap up with a couple more slides. Here's another Thrive button. So if you're a planner, create your strategy and implement your plan, right? Create your strategy for implementing your plan. This will actually give you some steps and some comfort that you're moving in the right direction. If you're not a planner, please engage someone who can help you, even if it's a friend who's really good at doing planning. Talk to your career coach or a recruiter. There are so many resources available to you. The alumni services I've plugged a couple times, LinkedIn, or ask Google how to make a career plan. There's like a billion, and I'm not exaggerating here. You can see there's a billion resources to you. What really gets me is that often more planning goes into a summer vacation than a 90-year life or a 40-year career. Please make sure that's not you. Please think about what you need to do. I also want to mention too, Chris Steeler, who is head of the career services, actually has a replay webinar where you can listen to what amazing alumni resources that the RIT group has for you. So please do that. And timing-wise, despite what we're going through right now, if you start taking stock about what you're grateful for, what is working in your career versus what's not working, how your experience, your passion, and your drive align with what you're doing, or if you find out they don't, just starting to plan for your next steps is absolutely going to boost your career satisfaction. So a quick checklist. I'm a list person. I love checking things off the list. Identify your purpose. Get clear on your why. Get clarity around your superpowers. What is that sweet spot? Do some assessments. It doesn't take that much time. Gives you your reports immediately. If you need help interpreting those, ask a friend, a recruiter, your career services coach. Contact me. I'm happy to help you. Just start creating a plan. And if you're visual like I am, a really, really fun exercise I've been doing for over 4 years now, I started in 2016, is to do a vision board. And this is particularly fun for women. We get together with all of our magazines and scissors and glue and tape and glasses of wine, and we sit around and we create our vision boards. We actually need to envision what success looks like, and that really helps you to start taking steps in that direction. And finally, just don't get over anxious about it, because that's actually a negative. Fact is that when you're positive about it and you're working towards something, you will actually attain it. So it doesn't have to be perfect, especially during this time. Give yourself some grace, but start. That's all I ask is give it a start. So Lydia, that's all I have. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And I look forward to hearing success stories. Please feel free also to connect with me on LinkedIn if you'd like. You can find me there or email me directly.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Michelle. And you please all see Michelle's email is right there on her slide. So do feel free to reach out to her. And we so much appreciate the conversation and the information that's been provided in the chat box over this time. We did just post the link to Chris Steeler's career services video. It's about 30 minutes long, so feel free to go take a look at that because there's some helpful information there. So that is all the time that we have today. Any additional questions you have can be emailed to ritalum@rit.edu. And we will get you your answers, or you can, as we said, email Michelle directly. All audience members will receive the email from us in about a week with a link to today's webinar recording. Thank you so much, Michelle, for joining us today and sharing your insights. And we thank our audience as well. Please visit rit.edu/alumni/tigers-staying-home for a listing of other upcoming virtual events. We have several webinars in the coming weeks, and we want to include as many of you as possible in those events. You may exit this webinar by simply closing the Livestorm window, your browser window, and please do let us know what you thought with a brief survey that you will receive via email shortly. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful week, and please stay healthy.
Thank you, everybody.